It's your favorite. Yep. It's your favorite.
Chantel, tell me a little bit about Cavin's early life, St. Croix, and his medical needs.
Well, when he had first been born in St. Croix, we were not aware that he had so many medical needs. He was not diagnosed with Down syndrome initially. That took about 7.5 weeks to get the paperwork back. And from there, they had scheduled appointments in Puerto Rico, but there was no emergent diagnosis at that point to make the determination as to his heart condition. Through the duration of a doctor appointment and some months later, he had actually turned blue, which had put us on a Cessna jet. We had to fly to Puerto Rico on a plane, just myself and Cavin, and it was very scary and you know, not knowing what to do. He was diagnosed with having to have AV canal repair, but at that point I did not really want him having the surgery in Puerto Rico. So I looked into the different hospitals all over the country, and I picked Children's Hospital of Colorado because it was one of the top 5 hospitals in the country.
And Chantel, what were your thoughts when you were told that Cavin needed a tracheostomy and a gastrointestinal tube?
That was a pretty shocking time for me. The whole duration of the process of him being hospitalized was very scary and very intense at that point. And then to be told that he actually has to get a hole put in his throat and a hole put in his stomach to be able to survive. It's overwhelming at the very least, you know, but it's not something you can't get through.
So how long was it that Cavin was inpatient at Children's Hospital?
He was inpatient for 4 months. Dr. Mitchell had decided to do just the open heart surgery. We weren't aware of the other problem that was lying ahead, which was during the surgery they found a cyst in little Cavin's airway, and the cyst complication led up to his tracheostomy and his gastrointestinal feeding tube. But initially it was just supposed to be open heart surgery, 6-week procedure, and it's basically turned into over 2 years.
Could you relive that day that you got to bring Cavin home?
The day that we got to bring him home was the happiest day because he had been in there so long, and we were just so happy to bring him home. And I know you were with me, Emily. We all had it was just the most blessed day that a parent could have, to be able to actually see him, be able to come home to his family. No more hospital beds, no more, you know, beeping machines, and it was just the best experience in the world.
And do you think that having 24/7 nursing has been beneficial for Cavin?
Having professional pediatric home care nursing in my home has just been an absolute blessing. I've had a few nurses that have actually been with us the whole entire time for myself and for Cavin and my children to be able to have nursing in the home, because without that, there's no way I could be in 10 places at once. And he required so many medical needs. To be able to do all this by myself would have been extremely overwhelming, and I'm so thankful that we've had them. They've been wonderful to us.
Tell me a little bit about Cavin's home therapies. Have they helped him progress, and in what ways?
PPHC's done a wonderful job of its therapies for Cavin. His physical therapist, she's just the best. She's always challenging him to overcome new obstacles. For his occupational therapy, he has just learned so many different sign languages, and his feeding skills are just amazing. He's feeding himself now.
So how active is Cavin now? And tell me a little bit about his limitations.
As far as Cavin's activity, where his airway isn't constricting more so now, and we're only a week away from the surgery date, his activity is not what it used to be. Prior to this, he was much more active. He has his little grocery buggy, and he'd push his little self around in the grocery buggy with his actual life support equipment inside of the buggy, which was a lot of fun. But right now, where the narrowing of his airway is kind of restricting him to be able to do as much physical activity as I would like to see him do, and that's why it's so important that he gets this tracheal repairment surgery. What they're actually going to have to do, which is pretty scary from a mother's standpoint, is they're actually going to have to remove a piece of his rib cartilage in order to repair his airway. So that way it's not as constricted, and he'll be able to breathe like a normal child and not have all of these limitations.
How will this surgery change Cavin's quality of life?
Well, he won't need his Trilogy life support equipment. That's been around for almost 2 years. That he won't need his pulse ox. That won't be beeping in the middle of the night. His nebulizer treatments, there's so many different machineries involved in this. It's quite a few, but at least we won't hear the beeping of any of that. So that's going to be a wonderful thing.
I think it makes it feel better.
It went wonderful. He had his tracheostomy reconstruction surgery, and he came through it very well. There were a few touch and go moments. They did have to keep him completely still and sedated for quite some time. It was almost 10 days. So they had him on some very strong medications. We're just totally excited to have him back and happy to see him healthy.
I wonder what you are up over the world so high, like the diamond in the sky.